So I think the easiest way to put this together is to recognize this piece here goes onto your stand like this. Creates a spacer so you're not hitting stuff as you bend pipe. This is the lower part of the bender, and these two holes here will match up with those two there. And so it will sit like that, okay? This piece here is the top, and it sits like that. And then this spacer is what goes in between it and the bottom piece. And the spacer I just spoke of is just over 4 1/8 inches long. There'll be 2 of those. So I put it together with that 4 1/8 inch spacer, just like that, and we're going to put it into that hole, and it'll stay there. Then you grab the next bolt, and the same size spacer. So the next bolt will go in here. The next bolt acts as the pivot point for this arm. You'll put this arm together on the bench. I'm going to take it apart here. So you can see that that spacer, just a 4 1/8 inch spacer, will go right here. So to put this together, the thinner washer on top of the spring back mechanism. Next washer sits like that. Then you have the arm that you already put together on the bench with this stud here. That will get 2 pins put in it. We'll get to those in a minute after I put it together. Again, we'll put those pins in, but those will be done now. And then you slide it over that 4 1/8 inch spacer, so it looks like this. Once you have that set up like that, then you go and you put it in here, pull that bolt out, slide it in, the bolt in all the way through the bottom, you're done. I think that's the easiest way to do it. I've tried to put it together on the bench and then bring it over and set it on here, and it was cumbersome to do so. We take our 2 nuts with our washers. And I'll loosely put them on now. When it comes time to putting the die on, you'll want these to be snugged up a bit, because tightening these does align everything, so it does fit better after they get a couple of turns on it and make it tighter. So that's how that will work. Then you also put together the die, the part that holds the die, or at least that the die goes through. It's labeled top on that end. No label on that one. These notches here go that direction. These spacers are just over 3 inches in length. So the bolts are the shorter bolts. So that's how that'll work. And that'll sit like that. You'll use the large pin to hold it in place, like that. And I would recommend putting in the other pins, like this one here, to line up that, and then tighten these two bolts. I'll tighten those more later, but that's a good enough turn on those to keep moving forward. This pin should come out easy, and it does come out easy. And this might get in our way here. So we're going to remove this just so it's out of our way. And now we're ready to put in the die. And the die is probably the toughest part to put in because it's pretty heavy. But this die is labeled here, 1.75 on a 5.5 radius. The label is on the top of the die, so you know how to install it. And it installs in this spot here. And this is where it gets difficult. Slide the die in. Line that up the best that I can visually. And then the die is in. And then these pins here go into these holes here. That's what helps this bend your pipe. Bend your tubing. And we can put in the other anti-spring back mechanism. And we just line that up. I know that it's going to go in that hole there. So line up with these here. Put that in place, like so. Then you line up. Oh, that's gonna. You line it up so that this here hits across like this. So when you, or hits across like this. So when you pull the pipe through, the tubing through, it raises it up and then it'll drop in and it keeps it from going back like this. So this is how it'll be inserted in there. So now it won't spring back. Lift it up, doesn't spring back. So when you're starting with your pipe, come forward, it helps lock it in place. This is the other anti-spring back mechanism here. Hopefully I'm describing those correctly, but I believe those two will work together to help you out. So that's how that works. And then the other part of the die, we'll put in that next. We've got this, which holds your pipe. Pretty simple. We have this. Again, it shows you what hole to put it in. Hole number 4. So hole number 4 is this one here. It tells you the type of tubing you can bend and the radius that you're bending it on, and it tells you what model this is for it, so it says M32, model 32, and then it repeats that information here. These are not aluminum, these are steel. They look aluminum, but they're not. And you just put that in place, just like that. Looks like I forgot a part. This big ring right here is a spacer for this die. And like I said before, the die is pretty heavy. So what we're going to do is slide it in like that. Then we'll pull this pin out. A little more. There, now that's lined up better. We have the gauge. And then that gauge will move based on the wire that you'll mount into here. The wire will come down and show you where your degrees are. So you'll set this at a 0 point whenever you start bending piping. And I'll put some video for that in too as time moves forward. So we'll do that after a while. And then we've got these pins to put in. These 2 pins here. And these 2 pins go into this arm right here. Here's a video of the JD2 Model 32 all put together. With a pipe installed. And hopefully these close-up pictures will help other people out. Alright, another follow-up video. I added a few things to my JD2 Model 32 tubing bender. I put on the dial indicator, which you can see right there. I put one bend here, another here, and then another bend here to twist it so that it is in line with the markers. And I also built this little protective piece here, so when you tighten this bolt down, it doesn't mar this pipe. And I just cut one pipe in half, had to do some trimming on it, and I made 2 of them since it was easy to make 2. And that's what it looks like. So it's pretty simple to make. And then I tightened this one in pretty tight, and you can see that's the groove that it put in the metal from that bolt. So it's worth building something like this to help protect your tubing that you're bending. But it's all put together and I'm ready to start bending.